feel like if you were really trying to make me not like your film, what you would do is to cast Jared Leto and Evan Peters in the starring roles, and then you would enlist Mr. Beast as part of your marketing campaign. That would really make me hate your film, or want to hate your film. So I'm really glad that Tron Ares did that. Tron Ares is the long-awaited, I believe about 15 years, follow-up, sequel, revival, prequel, follow-up, whatever else you want to call it, to Tron Legacy, the long-awaited follow-up and sequel to Tron, the 1980s original sci-fi film about a video game creator who is sucked into his own world. This film has cast one of my favourite actresses from the past couple of years, and two of my least favourite actors from the past couple of years. More so on anything than just reputation, which is that I just think Jared Leto and Evan Peters have real stinky reputations right now.
It's morbid time.
This film, whilst it's not terrible, doesn't really expand beyond anything other than a very expensive and pretty good looking spectacle that is very hollow and bland and basic, and has a sort of seen it all before method of working its story and its characters. The central thesis of the film being that Ares is a new AI model created by Julian Dillinger, the CEO of this mega corporation, who is from the outset portrayed as being quite evil. And then on the other hand, we have this character Eve Kim, portrayed by Greta Lee, who is in pursuit of this thing called the Permanence Code that will, we're not really ever told what, cure cancer, maybe? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. In one sense, the film wants to suggest that this Permanence Code is pursued by Dillinger because it will help him keep his AI model and AI soldiers alive permanently in the real world. On the other hand, there seems to be a suggestion that Lee's Eve is somewhat more benevolent and is a good CEO, although I think that's a very stark message to send in the modern Hollywood industry. And I'm not really ever sure that this Permanence Code rises above anything than a MacGuffin. If we go through the performances, there's basically three here, and then 2 or 3 actors who basically have been paid multi-millions of pounds or dollars for what amounts to little more than maybe a day or two's work, that being Kevin Bridges and Gillian Anderson. I don't have very much to say about them. They're clearly in this for a bag, and good for them. I'm not going to hate on them for it. They're at the tail end of their careers. I get it, whatever. That being said, the central trio in this film, I like 1/3 of that. The other two, it's not going well. It's not been a good few years for Jared Leto. It's not been a good couple of years for Evan Peters. Let's start with the positives. Greta Lee, I do enjoy a lot. I think she's great in past lives. Her breakout performance coming out at 40 is something that I enjoy seeing. I enjoy seeing stars break out later in their careers, because as the Hollywood industry ages, we tend to see more George Clooney and more Brad Pitt, and it's the same actor again and again and again. And so seeing a fresh face appear at the age of 40, I don't mind. But this film just feels very limited. She has no ability to be a action heroine. She has no experience in that role, as I understand. There isn't anything here for her to really do. There isn't anything here that is really in her forte. She is very much a indie realism actor. That is why she works so well in something like Past Lives. But this film just really is not for her. It's a complete miscast, in my opinion. Is something that I would like to see her stray away from as quickly as possible. Apparently her next film is Into the Spider-Verse. I think that is a fine role for her to take, particularly because it is an animated film. It doesn't necessarily, stake her reputation or anything like that. So dramas, romances, comedies, that is sort of her space. These big action roles don't suit her. And I will also say that it doesn't suit the other two. None of this trio have the personality to be an action hero. They can't sell their stunts. They can't sell their action sequences. None of these three have that personality of a Bruce Willis, of a Denzel Washington. It's non-existent in this film. And so essentially when we're put in an action sequence, we're just watching fancy objects move across the screen. And in this film, the majority of those objects aren't even real. The majority of it is CGI and green screen. So ultimately, I can't even tell you what I'm looking at the majority of the time. And then there is the fact that the editing of those sequences is pretty poor. There's a lot of cut, and it's strobe lights the entire time. It's these bright Tron colors, so it's reds and blues and greens, and there's just a lot going on where you're going, I don't know what is happening. This would have been the worst time to find out that I actually have epilepsy, because Jesus Christ, I wouldn't have made it out of this fucking film alive. That's how many lights there is in this film. Then we come on to Jared Leto and Evan Peters. Evan Peters, the fact that he took that monster Jeffrey Dahmer show is a real indictment of him, in my opinion, considering that show is quite obviously an exploitative true crime drama. And in this, he's not any better. He plays this sort of virgin soy boy nerd gamer CEO who's got tattoos and he's got a chain, but he's never anything more than a CEO with mammy issues. And he speaks with that like legitimate virgin soy boy gamer voice. I've built the world's strongest super soldier and I'm going to unleash it on this Asian woman. It's so fucking stupid that he's in this film. It doesn't help his career. He needs to break from this and really define what it is that actually interests him, because I can't tell you what it is going from Jeffrey Dahmer to this. They're both terrible choices that he should have never been involved in. And then we get Jared Leto, singer, songwriter, actor, director, producer. Is there anything that Jared Leto can do? Yes, in fact. He can send used condoms to his co-workers and not get accused of sexual harassment. That is a career choice that I respect. I actually don't hate the majority of his characterization. I don't hate his acting for about 99% of the film. And then in the final scene that I won't spoil, it just becomes the same bland Jared Leto that you've seen in all these films before. And his sort of emotionless acting style is something that fits with an AI model, I suppose, for the majority of this film. And then they kind of upend that and, force him to do this sequel bait at the end of the film. But he is, for the large part of this film, fine, I guess. There is also one thing that I want to touch on with the choice of actors and the writing in this film, which is that the decision to have two CEOs, one of them being malevolent and one of them being benevolent, and then casting the malevolent one as a nerdy white guy, and then casting the benevolent CEO as being a Asian woman. I think that is a very politically conscious and politically charged decision, regardless of whether it was with the intent of delivering a political message. That I don't think we're in an environment in 2025 where you can portray a CEO as being benevolent and also have them being a white male CEO. With that being said, I don't really care or think it makes a difference if the CEO is white or a man anyways. And I think that this arc of Hollywood that we're in, of all these major villains being billionaires, is running very thin, and it's not been going on for very long. And it needs to come to an end relatively quickly because it's growing increasingly boring. On the other hand, I think regardless, even if you say it's not a political decision, it was completely because Greta Lee was the best actor, the best actress for the role, okay, fine. I also don't think it's good for you to write into your film that the billionaire CEO is the savior of the day, or even that the AI model is the savior of the day. That's a pretty fucking bleak message to send in 2025, is it not? And yes, this is a blockbuster or attempted blockbuster because this film is fucking flatlined, but the message is still there. We can read the tea leaves, and I don't think any of the decisions in the writing department or the casting department are very smart in that regard. Other than that, I have to say that I do just think that this film is fun to look at on occasion. There's a lot of spectacle here, but the film isn't written very well. It's one of the most bland stories in sci-fi. The AI model wants to be human, and his creator is controlling him and won't let go. Okay, we've seen that all before, and particularly this incarnation of the story with there being a digital frontier that the AI model is trying to escape from. That is something that in very recent memory has been done and has been done a lot better in Cyberpunk 2077. Yes, a video game, but there is clearly overt references to that. And okay, I understand that the digital frontier thing is also a remnant of Tron Legacy and Tron, but it's also not a very smart decision to include that in this film if you look at the landscape and can see that someone else is mimicking your work and doing it better. Overall, this film is alright to look at, but I don't think that there's much else going on here. Some of the jokes are alright, some of the action is alright, some of the performances are fine. I don't really have a problem with Jared Leto. Don't really think Jodie Turner-Smith is that bad. Although I do think that her character being boiled down to she's a woman who wants to take charge, so she has to take on another woman, is such 2000s action of, oh, we're going to pair up the evil woman and the good woman and they've got to fight to succeed. That, to me, is on the level of WWE in the early 90s going, well, yeah, of course we're going to include women, and then making them strip fight. It's very demeaning, I have to say, to go, well, if you want to be a woman who's relevant in this, you've got to fight the other woman. I think there's multiple writing decisions in this film that don't make it very much sense. I don't think the casting is correct. If you just want something fun to look at, and occasionally good action, occasionally a couple of jokes that are alright, this is fine, I guess, but there is also better stuff out there that is more fun to look at and more comedic in tone that I would strongly recommend.